Good morning, Sanjeev. Thank you so much for joining me today on this interesting discussion about using generative AI for product innovation. And I know I've known you for quite some years, I think 9 to 10 years, and we've reconnected briefly recently. So I'm excited for this conversation. Why don't you start off a little bit briefly introducing yourself and about Lightspeed?
Thank you, Swati, and thank you for inviting me to join you today. It's a pleasure always to connect with you, this time virtually. Last time we connected in person. So my name is Sanjeev Augustine. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Lightspeed. And Lightspeed is an agile product development, coaching, training, and consulting company. And in the last year and a half, we've been accelerating our product innovation in the space of generative AI, specifically about how to use generative AI to develop products, and also applying those lessons to our own agile coaching engagements, where we are helping our clients understand how to make sense of agile methods, how to make sense of AI, and combine the two, this intersection of agile and AI. So any more information is available on our website. Just Google Lightspeed or Google Sanjeev Augustine.
Awesome. And I know you're very humble, but you are the author of several books, pioneer in the world of product development using Agile. So let's start off. I was very thrilled to observe your LinkedIn post or Lightspeed's LinkedIn post about using generative AI for new product innovation and development in the world of Agile and product delivery. Can you share your insights about those products?
Sure. So I want to start at a fundamental level of why we're doing this and how we came about doing this, and then I'll talk specifically about some of the things that are coming out of our product development pipeline, if you will. So as you and I were chatting right before this particular podcast, we've been in the Agile space for a long time. In fact, I'm just getting ready to do a panel for the Agile Alliance with two Agile Manifesto co-authors, Jim Highsmith and John Kern, and Heidi Musser, who's the former chair of the Agile Alliance. And we're talking about reimagining Agile. And that's next week, coming up next week. And it's funny because it's like 22, 23 years since the Agile Manifesto. We've been doing this stuff for a long time. And for the last 20 years, Agile has progressed. And now it's time for Agile to understand, all of us who are in the Agile community, to understand what generative AI is, what the potential for generative AI, and to work ourselves in developing products, or if you're in the training and coaching space, then understand how we can do this ourselves and train and consult with our clients. So our own journey began in the Agile community when we were developing products. So that time Agile was new. This is, I'm talking about 20 years ago, 22 years ago. And we looked at Agile methods, like specifically it was extreme programming, which is a very technical methodology. And we said, we want to take this technical methodology, which is extreme programming, and use it to blow up our traditional waterfall development, product development, because it just wasn't working. Our customers were unhappy. We were delivering late. When we delivered to our customers, we gave them things that were buggy because we didn't have good technical discipline. And we gave them something they didn't want or they didn't need because they had asked for that a year ago. So the Agile method of working in smaller batches, paying extreme attention to quality, product quality, and then working collaboratively with the customers was just wonderful at that time.
Right.
So long story short, we got involved with that. And then, our business kind of moved over to a lot of the enablement side, which is teaching others how to do it through a combination of training, consulting, and coaching. Now in 2024, I believe we are standing on the crux, if you will, or the launching pad for a tremendously exciting journey. Because it seems like we're back in the early days where there's a very high degree of uncertainty. There's so many tools coming out. Every day things are changing. The platforms are changing, and the tools are changing. The engineering infrastructure is changing every day. And so there's a lot of uncertainty involved with product development now. And particularly if you're looking at developing products either using AI or for AI, right? So So again, not to sort of oversell the value of agile methods, but this same approach of dealing with embracing change. The
Mhm.
old XP mantra back in the old days, you can go back. There's the first book was by Kent Beck. It was Extreme Programming Embrace Change. And
Mhm.
I think you can go back and say AI programming embrace change.
Right.
That, 24 years later, it's like it's the same thing. We need to understand that there's a very high degree of uncertainty. We have to embrace change and rapidly innovate and build an innovation product development system, innovation or product development system using, for us, that's using agile methods.
Mhm.
Now, in the last year to year and a half, that's what we've been doing. The thing that I can publicly talk about, and that people will know, that we have an agile VMO Co-Pilot. We call it Co-Pilot because that's a simple term and people kind of
Right.
understand.
Right. Everyone
Yeah,
understands.
but
Yeah.
that's distinguished from Microsoft's GitHub Copilot and Microsoft Office Copilot. Our Copilot is a chatbot that's developed on top of OpenAI's platform. So you go to Chat GPT, it's a custom GPT, is publicly available to those who have that subscription. So
Right.
that's something that we've released and it's been very successful. We're getting good response over there. And then the things that are in the pipeline that are under the radar right now are other products that we're using, are these methods to develop our own products to apply agile techniques in this field and do generative AI product development.
Awesome. So you've covered a lot of things, and let me unpack a little bit of all the thoughts that were going in my mind. The first thing is about extreme programming. I know I come from an engineering background and I appreciate extreme programming, but one thing I have observed since I've worked across a lot of sectors like healthcare, transportation, and also worked with startups as well as large enterprises, I don't see a lot of adoption of extreme programming. Now, paired programming is very popular in smaller organizations and startups, especially because it brings two engineers up to speed about what they're working on. So it's interesting you touched on extreme programming, and we can talk a little bit about that. Number two, I found it extremely valuable that you said this word uncertainty. And
Yeah.
with uncertainty comes opportunities, and you're tapping on the opportunities instead of highlighting the discourse around, oh, uncertainty can lead to job loss, robots taking over the world, etc. Right? So I think that is a fundamental shift in the mindset that you have as an innovator. And the third thing you said is obviously about your product that's there on the OpenAI's marketplace. I'm calling it marketplace. It could be like a synonymous to an app store, the GPT store, which I've used a lot of things. So I think my other questions will focus on the product. So tell me a little bit about, first of all, about why did you pick extreme programming? And for those of us who are not so familiar about extreme programming, a 30-second overview of what it is. And secondly, uh, why did you launch the GPT on the marketplace of OpenAI? And what is the business model, if you can share around and thought process around that innovation? And a little bit about who are the users, some features, functionality about it.
Okay, thank you. So let me start with extreme programming. For those of you who don't know, it was a methodology put together by a few people, including Ward Cunningham, Ron Jeffries, Kent Beck, and Chad Hendrickson. There are a bunch of books written about it 20-something years ago, but it is basically 12 practices that had to do with software discipline. And what they basically said, there are 12 practices, what everybody needs to do if you want good products. You have to they likened it to a dial, and you said one practice number, take it and do it to the extreme, put it to the maximum dial. Take all these 12 practices and move the dials to the maximum. Like if a setting is 1 to 10, move it all the way to 10. And so they said it wasn't extreme in like extreme sports. We're jumping off the cliff. You talked about uncertainty and change and managing risk. In fact, the thought then and the thought now is that by following these basic fundamental practices of product development, good engineering, we would all be better off and we would be successful. The problem happened was when those things were too difficult to follow. Most large shops don't have the engineering discipline, and a simpler solution came along on the process side. So it was Scrum came along, and people like, well, Agile, should we do extreme programming? Should we do Scrum? And everybody migrated towards Scrum, and they left extreme programming behind. Now, as we move to AI, I believe in AI product development in particular, we can certainly use Scrum practices in terms of bringing teams together, but we should look at those extreme programming practices, one of which you pointed out, is pair programming. That's one of the XP practices. Now, it's not just there. I'm not just saying, let's go back to those basics. We also have to go forward to the future. Along the way, we've now expanded those extreme programming, agile engineering practices were evolved and supplemented by deployment, specifically DevOps, right? So there's a continuum. If you're doing development, then we should be using extreme programming. As we look into automated deployment and dark code launch releases, all these kind of things, then we need to look at DevOps. And now from a technical foundation, as we look at generative AI development, we have to think about machine learning and ML ops, and how do we manage the development and deployment of AI products. Machine learning and ML ops needs to be part of that engineering infrastructure. So it's not just XP, it's XP with DevOps and now ML ops. Now, the second question was around the choice of ChatGPT or the GPT store and why we did that. I found by experimenting with different platforms and Claude and others, and we use other tools as well, including on the marketing side. But I found the ChatGPT, the GPT-4 in particular, was very good in giving me the types of answers that I was looking for, precise, concise, and also, of course, no tool is perfect. I would say it was wrong the least often.
Right.
So,
That's a good wording.
or it was right the most. It was wrong, and so I would go type an answer, a question into Bard or Claude or whatever, and GPT would give me the most correct answer, the most correct amount of time. So like, okay, if you're going to do something with this, let's experiment with this. So we did a simple custom GPT and put in a lot of knowledge into that GPT that's been offered right now, free on the GPT store. And that's not free means we're not charging anything. Money is going to If you're paying for that advanced subscription, you can use it. Now, why are we doing that? There's no business model in that we're getting financial remuneration from that right now, but it helps on our consulting and coaching business because we have in parallel set up something called the Agile VMO. This is the organizational construct. One of the things that you mentioned was books. My last book that I co-authored was from PMO to VMO, from program management or project management office to value management office. So we have a training and certification program around that. And one of the benefits that we're saying is like, hey, as you want to learn more about the value management office, there are training options out there, there are certification options out there, and also to accelerate as a value add to accelerate your learning in this area, there's a free GPT out there for the Agile VMO. So that's the business model right now. Now, clearly, as we start to roll out our own products, then there'll be a financial return on investment calculated around the product itself. But right now, that product is free for us, free for our customers and not returning any direct value to us.
Right, it's a value-added service. And who knows, soon it might become the equivalent of an app store on your mobile phone where you can generate revenue.
Maybe if this podcast reaches 1 million listeners and 100,000 start using the Agile VMO GPT, then I'll start making a lot of money on that.
No, definitely. I think an interesting point and question of debate is a lot of people are using generative AI or large language models for operational efficiency, but value-added products should definitely be there in your, I would say, as as a product addition to your portfolio of products. So can you talk a little bit about some of the features and functionality? Who are your typical users and what value this GPT is giving?
So the typical user is a project, program, or portfolio manager who's looking at extending agile methods from the team level into their domain. It could be a program domain, it could be a product domain, it could be the portfolio domain. And they're looking at applying two disciplines, lean portfolio management or adaptive governance. There's some guidance out there that the Scale Agile framework has gotten from us, and they've incorporated into the Scale Agile framework is on lean portfolio management, but there's very little around adaptive governance. And so a lot of people from the Project Management Institute, the more traditional project managers who understand risk management, who understand large-scale systems development and large-scale product development, they're looking to it and saying, hey, how do we do governance, as in compliance, audit, risk, legal? How do we incorporate all of these functions into our product development? And how do we stand up a governing body, if you will, a value management office? There's also another angle that we haven't talked about, and this is the legal angle, legal landscape, and the IP issues that come up with any AI application, and managing that and getting ahead of the curve is super important. And we can't rely on Congress. I mean, our Congress is still trying to understand what the internet is. And here we are with AI, though I think the Biden administration has just put out some guidance on AI and the cautionary impacts, right? Companies have to get ahead of it, and we have to help them understand what this whole new platform, this brave new world represents. And it can't happen just at the C level, right? It has to happen at the management level as well. So one aspect of the value management office and the component of adaptive governance is responsible AI.
That is super interesting because it's not just another checking the box and dotting your I's and crossing your T's. It's going to be crucial to adoption of AI, is responsible AI. And although government is playing catch up, there are AI compliance standards put out by the Biden administration. I think if you have to exist as an organization, you have to ensure your customers you're doing this responsibly, because there's a lot of public discourse around the negative impacts, which is valid to a certain extent about the bias and the fairness aspects of building responsible AI products. So I'm glad that you have already put a lot of thought to it. So I know that we have covered a lot of good things, Sanjeev. So what is the roadmap of this innovation looks like for you? Because I see you're very positive about this uncertainty and the opportunities that it's bringing. And I like you use the word the brave new world, the book, good old book about the brave new world. So what are some possibilities and what's the road ahead for you, or in general, your outlook?
Yeah, so one of the things I should mention and plug over here is our upcoming conference. It's called the Global Agility and Innovation Summit. It's going to be on May 8th in Tyson's Corner, Virginia. I'm sure we'll find a way to put the URL over there. And we will be assembling a number of people, right? These are thought leaders in the space of innovation and AI. These are executives, both from the government and public sector. So, for example, Scott Richardson, the CTO, excuse me, who's in charge of data and AI at Ally Bank. He's one of the speakers. We also have the former CTO from the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services. His name is Rob Brown. He's going to be a speaker. The former head of the Agile Center of Excellence from the Department of Homeland Security, because there are security implications of all this stuff as well. Bill Pratt, he's going to be a speaker as well. And then we have a number of speakers who'll be talking about from the industry side, from the engineering side, and we're exploring all of the dimensions of what this means in our space. When I say our space, I'm talking not only about Lightspeed and the product development, but also the larger Agile community and also the clients that we work with. Being in the in the Washington, D.C. area, we have a fair number of federal government clients,
Mhm.
and they're very concerned about what's going on. And our commercial clients are also equally, if not more, concerned about what's going on. So our roadmap over there involves 3 steps. One is right now experimenting, proving out, building our own products, making sure we can do this out and building both a commercial model as well as a learning model. The second thing is making the learnings that we have available to our clients, whether that's through a combination of the coaching or consulting, or just consumption of the products that we have developed as well. And the third part of the roadmap is co-creation, right? It's like once we do this ourselves, once we make it available to our clients and the larger world, then we want to make sure that nothing's going to stay the same. We can continue to co-create a lot of these things along with our clients and other thought leaders in the industry.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Sanjeev. And I know we will insert some links where to check out your GPT in the GPT store. And good luck with all the product innovation stuff you're doing. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Swati, and really appreciate you having me here once again.